Welcome to the No Plan B podcast. My name is Rene Weimann. This is episode 21. And if you are on YouTube right now, you might see our newest evolution of this show. You can see us now. Our guest today is Quentin Pryor, played in First League in Germany and Austria. I will be super excited to ask him about the differences between those two. But for now, for the perfect intro, I pass the mic to my partner, Joe Asbury.
Ladies and gentlemen, hailing out of Eupora, Mississippi. Let me tell y'all what's real. Now, everybody that knows me, they know Jumpin' Joe Asbury. I've dunked on a lot of people, but let me tell you guys something. This guy right here, QP, Quentin Pryor, ladies and gentlemen, he has a lot of bodies too. He's dunked on a lot of people. Welcome, my brother. Welcome.
Appreciate it, man. Been waiting on this.
Yeah, man, for sure, big dog. Hey, man, let me put this out there for all the listeners and all the people. First and foremost, man, it was really just such a pleasure to watch this guy, man, when he played pro basketball, because he never took plays off. He played so hard, man. He played hurt. And, of course, everyone knows what I love about basketball the most. Like I said in the intro, he dunked on a lot of people. He got a lot of bodies, and he played this game the right way, man. Good teammate and all that. And shout out to Big Ed Seward, because he told me you were a great teammate. So let's get it, bro. So how did it all begin, man? How did this journey, when did you fall in love with the sport we love called basketball?
I mean, honestly, as far back as I can remember, I've been playing basketball from a small kid. I can remember being in the kitchen with my mom cooking, and I would take shoe boxes and cut the bottoms out and just nail them up to the walls and just find me a Nerf ball and just shoot. I would just play imaginary one-on-one games and imaginary 5-on-5 games just in the house. On one end, I have a shoe box with the bottom cut out, and on the other end of the kitchen, I have another. So I just had full court, just me going back and forth against myself.
Oh, that is awesome, bro. That's awesome. So what was like your first team that you played for? Was it like boys club or AAU or in junior high? What was your first squad?
First organized was basketball camp in my town. We had a couple coaches, Coach Ford, who I was able to be coached by him my senior year, which he was like the man there as far as coaching. He was the legend there. He was the one that put the town on the map as far as basketball and winning and making it a good program. And also the late Mr. Thomas Ford. Those two were the first guys that actually showed me the organized way of playing ball, how to shoot, how to do everything that way. So without them, there's no telling where I'd be. But at the same time, as a kid in a small town, it's not very many kids that have the same talent level, so it sparse all out. My talent level was a little higher than everybody else in my age group, so once it got to a point where it kind of got a little easy, they bumped me up with the older kids. That was the experience that pretty much set me on track for everything else, because playing with them, I didn't get the ball as much. I was just running up and down the court, just playing defense, and I went to them 2 days later and was like, I don't want to play with them no more. I want to play with my age group again. So they kind of instilled that in me early about being a team player and not just making everything about you. So once I got that aspect of it, everything from there just changed.
Nice, bro.
But
nice.
good mentors tell you that you should look for older people, no matter what you're doing. If it's basketball or whatever, you should look for older people and get connected with them and just take the challenge and try to get into that.
Yeah, exactly. Most definitely.
Exactly.
And how was the high school experience? Was that pretty cool?
Now the high school experience was totally different. For me, it started out originally I'm from Mississippi, but every summer I spent in Memphis. I had family that lived in Memphis, so Memphis was like a 2-hour drive from where I'm originally from. So as soon as school ended, I was in Memphis. And if you know American basketball, especially high school basketball, Memphis is kind of like a hotbed. So for me to go to Memphis, it was automatically like, now I'm in the belly of the beast.
Yeah.
you know, it was different guys that were D1, All-Americans, everything. So here I am, a small town kid, and my first introduction, you know, I'm not knowing anybody, not knowing anything. We're just an open gym. And then we're on a fast break, and I see a dude just throw the ball up off the glass. I go up like I'm about to rebound it. Big guy just come from behind and catch it off the backboard, and they was like, "Welcome to the city." So once that part happened, I was like, okay, I'm not in the country anymore. Like, something's got to change. So, man, from that moment on, like, everything changed. I started out my sophomore year, didn't play a lot. I only played like 2 minutes, of course, transferring schools. And the thing was, they were saying that I couldn't pick up on the plays. So, you know, that's kind of where my work ethic changed as well. So I couldn't pick up on plays. So what I started doing was I started staying extra, getting no shots, going to a church, getting no shots. When they went to Christmas break for a tournament, I stayed home, worked out. Went from playing 2 minutes a game as a sophomore on JV to and this is around Christmas. By the middle of January, I was starting on varsity. Right after that. And after that, I never got out of the rotation ever again. I went from playing 2 minutes at JV to then I could only play 3 quarters. Then it went from 3 quarters to I could only play in 2 quarters because I could only play six quarters a night in JV and varsity.
Yeah, nice, bro. Yeah, shout out to that work ethic. I hope all y'all youngsters out there listening, you got to work on your game. You can't just pick up your PS4 controller and get to hitting buttons and think that you're going to be a hog like QP. It's not going to happen. You got to put in the work.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So how was the college experience, bro? Let's go there.
College was a little, it was very eye-opening as well, too. Because I didn't go into my senior year, this is where, you know, I started to pick up on the political side of basketball. So my senior year is just me and the big guy. We're both coming back. We're both around. He averaged like 20 points a game. I ended up averaging like 15 a game my junior year. So that our senior year, we were supposed to both be 20-20 guys and, you know, take us wherever we were supposed to.
Yeah.
Open gym one day, the head coach is out and it's just our assistant. And the kid just throws the ball at me and beams me. So me being the kid that I was at the time, I picked the basketball up and I beamed him right back. And, you know, the assistant coach is like, no, you're not going to do that. You're supposed to be the team captain, blah, 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 blah. So he tells me to get on the line and run. At this time, this is where my attitude and everything had kicked in. And I'm like, no, I'm not getting on the line and running for nothing. I said, the only way I run is if you make him run as well. I said, if he runs, then I don't have no problem. He was like, no, he's not going to run because he's a younger guy. You're an older guy and a team captain, and you should know better. I said, I can understand your logic if I started it, but he started it and I finished it.
Right.
So I walked out the gym that day, not thinking anything about it. So the next day, the head coach is back, and we get ready for open gym, and he pulls me off the court. And tells me that, well, I'm not going to let you play because I heard of what happened yesterday. He said, you can't play until you run. So I said, well, I guess I just won't be playing this year then. I said, because if he's not running, I'm not running. Right. He said that his situation has nothing to do with you. I said, yes, it does if it involves me running and he's not running. So long story short, I ended up leaving my senior year and going back to Mississippi for my senior year. Mm-hmm. In that turn, I had went to a camp that summer. And a JUCO coach saw me, and he really didn't know if he wanted to take a chance on me because I was an out-of-state recruit for Mississippi JUCO. So it just so happened when I moved back home, I just so happened to be in his JUCO area. In Mississippi, they have JUCOs broken down by counties. Like wherever you live at, you have to go. If that JUCO recruits you in Mississippi, no other JUCO in Mississippi can recruit you. Yeah. So I didn't know that at the time. Well, his first phone call, he calls me, asks me for my social security number, and I give it to him. He was like, yeah, this way no other JUCO in Mississippi can recruit you. Now, mind you, at the time, I'm probably like the 3rd or 4th leading scorer in the state of Mississippi. I averaged like 29 points a game that year. So at the time, I'm not really thinking much about it. But then again, once I get into it, it kind of hurt a little bit because I pretty much limited my recruitment in the state of Mississippi to JUCO. Mm-hmm. So I ended up signing there and going there. In my first year, right out the gate, I came out averaging like 17, 18 a game.
Yeah.
And we had two big guys that were both sophomores, D1 recruits. So our coach was like, he kind of wanted to change how we played and went to more of an inside out look, which I really didn't have no problem with it. I'm a freshman. You know, I'm thinking as long as my numbers are up and above 15 a game, I get a D1 look.
Yeah.
So season goes on. We finished the year 22-6. It's just certain things that I saw, like over the point that he said to me leading up to me going there that wasn't adding up. So I'm like, man, I don't know if this is the right situation for me. So, you know, I kind of went about it the wrong way. I started contacting other JUCO coaches. Well, those coaches ended up calling him before I talked to him. So I get a call and he tells me to come to the office and we have this talk. He gives me a couple of days. Long story short, I just decided to transfer. Ended up transferring to Jackson State Community College in Jackson, Tennessee. Probably the best decision of my life. Without that move, I probably don't end up playing overseas. I had 2 visits set up that weekend, and Jackson State just happened to be the first one. Went in, and I didn't play very well in open gym, I didn't think, but I think the coach saw enough of my athleticism and my feel for the game. He knew that I could play, and I had just played on a good JUCO team, so he kind of figured I knew my way around the court very well. So he calls me in his office and was like, scholarship's yours if you want it. He said, if you don't, you can take the other trip across the state and go take your other visit. But just know that if you don't take this scholarship and somebody else does, it's gone. So it was an hour away from Memphis, and I was like, you know what? I like it. I know a couple of dudes here that play here that I played against in high school in Memphis. Why not? So I signed it. Same exact story. We ended up going 22-6, just like my first JUCO year. The only difference was we got up to number 10 in the country because we went on like a 12-game win streak. And just so happened we go all the way to the regional semifinals. Now, we're matched up against the team. We played in the semifinals against the next team that we both were favored to win the region that year. So it just so happened we met up in the semifinals. Well, they got up by like 20 with about 12 minutes to go. And we're sitting here and we're like, man, I know our season isn't about to end like this. So coach is like, he's like, I have nothing else to tell y'all. I've said all I can say. The rest is on y'all. 10 minutes to go in the game, we down by like 18. And from the next 10 minutes on, I scored like 20 points in that next 10 minutes to send the game to overtime.
Yeah.
But we ended up losing in overtime and didn't get to, but just a flood of coaches just came out of the stands, and it was probably like 7 or 8 just all came to me out the game and gave me cards and everything, and was like, we want to get you on our campus, we want to do this, we want to do that. And just so happened Morehead State was there. They came and saw, which they had started talking to me early in the process and things of that nature. So getting into that story, there's 4 schools in the town where I went to JUCO. So we would all meet up every Wednesday at a church and play pickup ball open gym, basically. Well, right before I get ready to commit and start taking my visits, I get undercut on a dunk and try and break my fall and break my wrist.
Wow.
So I call my JUCO coach, and he's like, I'm not calling these coaches for you. You got to call them. So I start calling, and most of them are just like, okay, well, we're probably going to freeze our recruitment until we figure out what's going on with your wrist. The only one school didn't say that, and that was Morehead, which I ended up going because they were the ones that said, you know what, if it comes out that you can't play basketball again, we'll still honor your scholarship. And at the time, my wrist was, nobody knew because I actually had 2 fractured bones in it, but my first surgery only fixed 1. So I sat out my whole first year of college, didn't know what was going on. And my uncle passed over Thanksgiving. So I tell the trainer, I was like, hey, I want a second opinion. My uncle just died because he didn't get a second opinion. I want a second opinion on my wrist. So I come and see the team doctor here. I live in Louisville now. So at the time, Morehead is like a 2-hour drive from Louisville. We come here. He puts up the very first x-ray that I had when I broke my wrist. And he's like 5 seconds into it, he was like, oh, I see what the problem is. And we're like, huh? He was like, you have another fractured bone in your wrist. That's why it's not getting any better. Wow. So by that time, I'm like, okay, it's just a simple fix, another surgery, and it's done. He was like, so you have two options, though. He said, you can get this surgery and you can be done, or you can get this surgery and you have to become a completely left-handed player. Mm-hmm. So at that time, in the doctor's office, the doctor, the trainer, nurses, everything, I'm in there just crying. Because at that point, it's like everything that I worked for is gone. Yeah. But it just so happened that I got the surgery, was in the cast for another 2 months and got out. And I was able enough to play and get enough strength back in my right hand to compete and play. Career didn't pan out like it was supposed to, as I was recruited because of my wrist. But my senior year, I kind of played more like they thought I should have when I first came in. So that was great, you know, that I was able to bounce back and play my senior year like I thought I should have and like everybody else did. And then weirdest story ever, in my senior year, and at this time, I just found out that my girlfriend, who's now my wife, is pregnant with our son at the time. So wow. Going out to eat with my teammates at the Chinese restaurant, I get a phone call, and it's a number I've never seen before. It's like 12 numbers on the phone, a plus sign, and I answer, and it's a German guy. And I'm like, okay, like, how'd you know, who is this? What do you want? Da-da-da. Long story short, a few days before, he had messaged me on MySpace, back when MySpace was big, and said that he was a scout for one of the agencies in Germany. Matter of fact, was Scores First with Garrett. Nice. And he was like, he watched me and, you know, he wanted to put me in contact with Garrett and try and help me get overseas. So I'm like, okay, maybe it's a scam, maybe it's true, but if it's true, he's got my number. He called me like 3 days later, and I'm not even thinking anything about it. So I like stop eating and rush back and tell my girl, like, hey, I just got a call from a scout about going overseas. And we just both like, she's like, do you think it's real? I was like, I don't know, but we'll see. Come that June, I had a contract. So.
Oh, that is beautiful, bro. What a great story, man. First, let me put all this out there. First of all, shout out to Garrett, Scores First, because he found a dude that's a hog, and that's you. And let me put this out there for the listeners and for the young people. Listen very carefully to OG Jumpin' Joe right now. These goofy-ass coaches with this bullshit agenda, when these dudes are telling you, I mean, this, you know, when they recruited you to JUCO, you were a stud back then. Why would you not make calls for me? If my wrist is hurt, I shattered my wrist playing ball at a pickup game. It doesn't matter. I still did work for your team. All you have to do is what I'm asking you to do, which is to pick up a phone and call different schools for me. It should be a simple thing to do. But a lot of these coaches with these inflated egos, man, and these bullshit ass agendas, man, hidden agendas, you know, that they didn't do it. But guess what? Guess who wins? QP got paid to do what he loves to do. Yeah.
Now, mind you, now that JUCO coach, I didn't have a problem with him saying it because me and him, we still talk to this day. I call him at least twice a month. We still talk to this day. Now, my first JUCO coach, that guy's a different story. Because I didn't say in the meeting that I had when I told him I was transferring, once he caught wind I was transferring, he wanted to pull out all the information and everything he had got from other schools, D1s that were recruiting me. Because at the time, I qualified to go D1 out of high school. So I only had to do 1 year of JUCO. He didn't give me anything, any letters, nothing from any schools that recruited me my freshman year. So once I found that out, I was just like, okay, well, my decision to leave is already made. If you've been doing this, you're basically trying to get me to come back another year, and I don't have to.
Right. Okay. Then I apologize for talking about that other coach, but I'm still on that other, the fake ass coach's head. And we're not even going to say his name. We're not going to make him famous.
No, we keep it G. I don't even think he's coaching anymore.
We keep it G. So let's go, Renee. You add something in here, Renee.
Yeah, I mean that was a story. I mean, in detail, it's really cool to being in that so deeply. But then, you made it to Germany, to Hagen, Phoenix Hagen at that time. It was in Schalke. It was first,
Schalke,
right?
yeah. Sorry, Schalke was the first place.
Yeah, and how was it for you to come to Germany? I mean, it's so much more different to the USA when you come here. And what was your first impression? How were the first days? What was probably, tell us one thing that you would say was great about Germany and probably something you had a problem with in your
Okay.
life here. So
The great thing I say was the food. The food
okay.
is what probably kept me there. The bad thing was I didn't do very much research as far as how Europe would look or anything like that. Germany.
Wait a second. No one does that. Every baller
No
is
one.
coming here like oh, okay,
No one.
I will play basketball. It will be the same. I mean, in terms of basketball, even that is different.
Yeah.
But that's one thing. You are on the court probably 2 or 3 hours a day when you practice, and the rest of the day you must deal with other things.
Other things.
You're not researching that. People should do that. Would you give that suggestion to young kids who probably go to Germany, to Finland, to Sweden? We had people from Ukraine. Should they research where they go to? I think they should.
After my first or second year, I researched everywhere I went.
Look,
I would always ask
you'll learn
if
from
there
that.
was a former player. Yeah, if there's I need a former player I need to talk to. Like, I need to know everything from head to toe, the organization, the coaching, the town, where are some spots I can go to. Because when I first got off the plane back in 2007, I was ready to ask for my plane ticket to get back home because I was not expecting that.
So what happened?
Now, when I first got there, it was one of my teammates that came to pick me up, young guy, Stefan Carduck. Shout out to Stefan. So we drive back from Dusseldorf duty right now. So we go to the apartment, and I slept like the whole time. So end up leaving there, going to practice that night, and the coach was like, "Hey, y'all got to take me to go get bananas." I'm up all night that night. Well, we start playing and everything, and I'm not getting acclimated to the international games so much, and it just so happened that I hurt my knee in the game. And I get an MRI and everything, and the coach pulls me in the office and was like, "Yeah, we're getting ready to send you home. Like, your knee is damaged, and we just don't think it's gonna work." And all of a sudden, I'm getting ready to put my head down, and he's like, "No, I'm just playing." He's like, "They want to send you home, but me as your coach and watching film, I fought for you, and I made them, give you more time." So shout out to Keith Gray for that. I appreciate him for that.
Nice.
So I ended up getting acclimated. Still took me a little bit. But the very first game, after the first game, he was like, "See, I tried to tell y'all. My first game, I had like 28 points." And after, everybody was just like, "Okay, like, where'd you find this kid?" He was like, "I've been trying to tell y'all this from the beginning. Like, he just needed time to get used to everything." But in soccer, there wasn't very much aspirations to win. Me and a teammate made a comment one time. We were just out in the city, just walking around at T-Mobile, and the iPhone had just came out. So the GM of the team is like, "If you guys win the league, I'll buy everybody on the team iPhones." That's just the thought process that they had at the time. So I'm sitting here like, I was like, "Well, you might as well get ready to pony that money up." I was like, "Ain't no way we losing this year." I was wrong.
Yeah.
Like, it was, and I don't want to name names. I'm not going to get into that. I'll just go into situations. I had a teammate that, he had an issue with drinking. We had a problem with that. They had to take him off the team. Then I had an issue with a couple of teammates that got into it because we're in a game. Teammate's mom came. He took her to the airport super early one morning, stayed out. Just so happened we had a game that same night. Well, the guy that he was guarding scored 17 points in the fourth quarter, and we lose the game. So the guy gets dressed, leaves the locker room, and I kind of somewhat was there. I was like, "Oh, he's already gone." He's like, "Well, can you go get him?" So I went to go and get him. And, I already knew he was upset. I was like, "Hey, coach just wants you to come back. He wants to talk to the team, blah, blah, blah." But while coach is talking to the team, he asked the guy why he was so upset and he left. He explained to him why, told him the situation and what happened. The other player starts yelling back, hey, don't worry about what I do, this and that. F you, F this. And, you know, the player told him, he was like, well, you got one more time to say something like that to me and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, you're going to get these hands.
He says it again and points at him. And by the time he does that, I tell you, within a millisecond, he was at my feet bleeding. And I was just like,
caught them hands.
I was just like, whoa, like this isn't college anymore. So, I mean, that was that year. Mind you, on top of that, we had referees that took made a pot to see as to how long Keith Gray would last.
Oh, wow.
I bet you the league didn't know that. The league didn't know that, but as soon as he got removed, word came out that referees had a pot wouldn't last to Christmas. And you could tell in some of the games with some of the calls that were being made, like, man, this is unreal. But they had a pot to get him out of that.
And you know what, QP, that's some bullshit, man, because Keith Gray, man, he was a great player, man, and he's a good dude, man. You know what I mean? Like, it's just sad that they wanted to get him out of there.
Yeah, he's a good dude. He's a good dude. I mean, like I said, I owe him everything as far as my European career because I could have been home in September of 2007 instead of finishing my career in 2014.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let me ask you this, man. Because you definitely are a globetrotter, you went to a few different countries. Which country would you say was your favorite to play in?
Competition-wise, definitely Germany. Hands down, top to bottom. That league was just, man, night and day. It was the best of the best for me. You know, from the Alberlins to the Bombergs, you know, with the guys they had there, the Tyrese Rices and the Ricky Paulins, the Jens, all those guys. I mean, from top to bottom, that league, every single night, you know, you had to come ready to play. Because I can remember going against Julius Jenkins and everybody like, oh, well, you got to do this and that to take him out of the game. But then you go and play a bottom place team, and then you got a Brandon Winters who's a knockdown shooter. So it's like no rest, no night whatsoever. But competition-wise, definitely Germany.
And I mean, in those times, the league was very good. It was like a few breakout years. Like it was about 10 years ago. The years before, the leagues in Germany were not that good, and it was kind of a breakout year for the whole BBL compared to the rest of Europe. Of course, Bayern Munich was not there. They are kind of competitive right now, but it was a breakout year, especially with Bamberg and I think with the Skyliners, Frankfurt, and with Ulm was good, and of course Alba, and that was a great year. Those were some great years, some exciting years with all those players you already named. And and come on, 28 points in your first game in second league. I mean, it's not like 28 points in college. It's a lot different. People must know that. It's not like where you just run up and down the court and you shoot all the time. It's a much different game here in Germany, and scoring 28 points in German league is a whole different thing.
Oh yeah, man, no doubt, man. QP's a straight up stud, man. And let me ask you this, bro. What advice would you give to that young guy who's growing up right now in Eupora, Mississippi, and really is chasing a pro basketball dream? What advice would you give that young stud?
Man, number one thing is, man, just tune everybody else out. You are in control of your own dreams. Like I like to tell my players and my son, don't let no man kill your dreams. No man. Preach. If that's what you have out there, then go for it.
Preach.
That's great.
Beautiful. That's beautiful, man. Oh, and let me put this out there, Renee. Back in the days where I played in Wally, shout out to my man Wally Cruz. That's how I met QP. We played in Wally's All-Star game, bro, and we was in the dunk contest. QP beat my ass in the dunk contest, but I put a show on. I did my thing. I had some nasty dunks, but I tell you, I never forget, man. I dove for a loose. It was like a loose ball situation. And first of all, I was trying to guard QP, which was impossible. He was breaking me down. And then it was a loose ball situation. The ball flew out of bounds. I'm flying for the loose ball. And, man, I dove for a loose ball, and I slammed into his teammate, Eddie Seward, bro. And when I tell you that shit was like hitting a goddamn brick wall, bro.
Man,
Oh my God.
shout out to Eddie, man.
Shout out to
Shout out
Big
to Eddie.
Eddie, bro.
Love that guy, man. I hit him up now and then, you know. But that dude, man, fun dude, played hard. You know, he wasn't the most skilled, but one thing you were gonna get from Eddie every single night was he's gonna play hard and do what he needed to do.
Yeah, no doubt, bro. Yeah, man. But like I say, man, it was a pleasure to watch you play in your prime, man. You're a great dude, man. What you want to add to that, Renee?
What I want to add, I have that in my mind here because it's a very cool thing here. Germany, Austria is like a very interesting relationship between those two countries. What was great about Austria? Come on, tell us what did you enjoy playing in that country?
As far as playing in
Living
Austria,
there,
I say the road trips were much smaller. In Germany, you know, we going in the second league, we had to go to Munich. That was like a 8-hour bus ride to Munich. Everything in Austria was like a 3 or 4 hour ride at max. So it wasn't all that bad.
And off the court?
Off the court, definitely a lot different. Germany, I say, is much more faster paced than Austria.
Oh, yeah.
Especially outside of Vienna. Everything else is much more slower in Austria.
Laid back.
Yeah.
All
right.
Hey, man, and before you go, man, let me also put this out there because a lot of the guys, man, they don't have, you know, a guy like me, I'm not hating on no one, you know. I know for a fact that if I didn't get paid to play basketball, that I'd be gone by an hour or in somebody's prison doing push-ups. And what's real talk, but what I really love about you, man, is that QP, share with our viewers before you go that you're also, you know, you're a smart dude, man. You're a bright dude. You're a teacher. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So can we talk about that a little bit before you go?
Yeah, we can get into that. After I finish playing, man, and I'm not gonna lie, that's another thing. If you're playing and you know your career is on the twilight and it's on tail end, please have a plan together. Because I didn't, because I thought I was gonna play 10 years or more. And 7 years was it for me, and that was it. So I needed a backup plan. So I started coaching, but every job in America doesn't line up with coaching, especially high school and middle school, because it's in the middle of the day and everybody, your jobs don't let you off. So in turn, I ended up going back to school and getting my master's to become a special education teacher. And now I'm about to start my 4th year of teaching, about to start a new year of coaching high school. I took a year off from high school and coached my son's 6th grade group this year. So now I'm back in the high school game and looking to move forward and move up the ranks that way.
That is awesome, bro. And you know, that's the name of our theme, man. It's, you know, it's the no plan B, you know what I mean? And I'm living proof of what happens to you if you don't have no plan B, bro. It's real tough. And really so happy that you got that, man. That's beautiful, man. It's been our pleasure to have you as a guest, bro.
Man, I appreciate it.
Yeah, and we just had our last episode on how we actually made our first conversation ever. It was on my podcast that I had before that one, and cool story so far. Now we're also on video if people want to see that. So thank you very much for having time to be here with us today. And all the best for the future. Coaching.
We appreciate you, QP. Appreciate you, bro. Let me put it out there again. Hey, listen, that guy got a lot of bodies, y'all. He dunked on a lot of people overseas.
Yeah, I got quite a few, man. I got quite a few. Also,
he just being humble.
Also, before I finish, I just want to say this. I don't know if I live in Louisville, Kentucky, so I don't know if everybody knows what's going on in America right now with all the protests and everything. You know, I will say this. I'm living proof of this. I know for a fact, me and my wife were out there protesting about a week and a half ago. It was a caravan where we rode through the affluent neighborhoods and blew our horns, you know, telling people to wake up. Something has to change. They still haven't charged the officer that killed Breonna Taylor. Well, the next day we wake up and in the newspaper there's lines in the newspaper, gunshots was fired. We tried to do stuff to employees at Kroger. Mind you now, I have everything on video on my Facebook page, and the police escorted us and blocked the roadways off for us. But this is what happened. So everybody just keep an eye out for it. We appreciate everything that's going on right now, especially in this city and in America. It's trying times, but just stick together, keep praying, keep your heads up, and keep fighting the good fight, everybody.
Real talk,
All right, thank
man.
you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, Black Lives Matter all day, bro.
Appreciate
For
y'all.
sure.
Appreciate
Appreciate
man.
you, brother. All right, peace, QP.
Thank you. Thank you.